What is Northern Eagle Market? We're a maple syrup company, and our farm is in Michigan, but we live here in Alaska, and everybody says, how in the world do you get maple syrup here to Alaska? Well, it kind of started with an idea, which I turned to my father-in-law, and about 40 years ago, he bought a farm down in the upper peninsula of Michigan. And so guess who gets elected to go down there and work? So the last 40 years, I've been going down there on and off, doing hay, doing all these other things. Well, I come up with this bright idea. Hey, we got all these maple trees out in the woods here. We're not doing anything with them, so let's tap these trees and you start doing something with it. Well, he thought it was a great idea, and I didn't realize that meant I had to do more work. But so we jump in the car, we go to the nearest maple syrup supply company, bought all the equipment we needed, a small evaporator, RO system, buckets, a little bottling operation, and we were in business. And first year, I think we did about 100, let's see, how do I advance this here?
Should be.
What?
Something at the top.
Great. Oh, okay, button at the top. Okay. These are my two sons who were in business together, and let's see here, advance it again here.
Go ahead.
When we got started with hanging the bags, hanging the buckets, and the first year we did about 400 bags and buckets, and we went out and started collecting them, just emptying them into a container, bringing them back to our sap house, processing. First year I think we did 100 gallons. And what we started doing was we started inviting people to come and do it. We had people from Indiana, we had people from North Carolina, people from Alaska, and we just had fun. That was what it was all about, it's just having fun. Well, all of a sudden it goes from about 100 gallons a year to about 400 gallons a year. Well, then all of a sudden, we're giving away most of this syrup, and then at about that time, that's the time me and my sons said, hey, let's start doing something with it. And we came up with a concept called breakfast boxes, where we were taking maple syrup, coffee, pancake mix, putting it in a box and selling it as breakfast in a box. And then the business had an opportunity. A real good buddy of mine who was in the industry gives me a call just out of the blue, because I'm up here. I was only going down a few months out of the year doing this, coming back. He gives me a call and he says, look, my health is bad. I got to sell my operation. And he had a very large operation and all, and we worked out an arrangement and we ended up purchasing it. So then we went from about 400 gallons a year to over 1,000 gallons a year. And so at that point, I realized we got to do something with this syrup. And so we looked at selling it in Michigan, but the problem with selling in Michigan, everybody makes syrup. How can you sell it to the guy down the road who's already making syrup? So what I found was, in the state of Alaska, there's a large demand for maple syrup, but the supply is low for farm-to-table syrup. And so we come up with this idea, let's take it to Alaska and sell it, which I can tell you presents a logistic nightmare. But we're doing it. And we started, first of all, we started shipping bottles already filled, and we were just going to vendor shows, creating interest, and then the next thing you know, we were getting invited to go to other places. More people were wanting it. Well, the problem ended up being the place we were operating out of, our lease was running out, and we were out selling the amount of syrup we were making a year. So we saw this problem coming. So what we started doing was lining up a network of farmers that we could actually buy syrup from. And they were great syrup makers. We know who they are. And so what we started doing was buying barrels of already made syrup, and we were bottling it along with ours. And so that allowed us to keep scaling, allowed us to keep bringing up more. Well, then all of a sudden, our lease runs out, and we were not able to take our equipment because right here, it's a very large evaporator. We were doing lines in the woods. In order to redo that infrastructure there at the farm, which we could do, I live in Alaska. I don't really want to go down there for months and months and months at a time building the infrastructure. So that's why we also ended up creating the network of farmers. So now what we're doing is we gravitated to where we're purchasing 55-gallon barrels of syrup. We're shipping it here to Alaska, and we're able to rent from the Alaska Test Kitchen out in Sterling, where you have AK Fermentation with Greg and Marnie Alcott there. They've been great. They let us come in, and we're able to start bottling syrup right out of there. And we actually got my grandson involved. You know, it's a family-run business. You know, and so we're operating now out of there, shipping up syrup. We also have another line of products, our maple pecans. I don't know if anyone's tried those yet. If you're keto, you're in trouble. But then here are some of the products that we actually carry, and we do a maple cream or a maple spread, which you'll see. We're now selling out of like Echo Lake Meats, Maggie's General Store, North Country Fair, Kasilof Mercantile. We're out on the Spit coming this summer. We just got taken on by a couple places in the Anchorage airport, so we'll be there this summer. We got picked up at the Wildlife Conservation Center, so we'll be in there this summer. Natural Pantry in Anchorage. I mean, so we're starting to make traction now. And so, we're really excited about that. And one thing we ended up doing, if you look up here, the bottle with the Santa, there's a little story behind that. He's been a friend of the family for about 40 years, and he lost his corporate job several years back, and he had started playing a Santa when he was 15 years old. And he said, what am I going to do? So he says, I'm going to become a professional Santa. And he actually is the most photographed Santa in the U.S. right now. And so we end up teaming up together, and we do a special Christmas bottle every year, which has been sold at Bronner's in Frankenmuth. And I go down every fall, and we do a Christmas vendor show in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, with him. And so we also do some shows down there. We also, my youngest son is out in Salt Lake, and he has quite a connection with a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs, and he does a breakfast out there called Breakfast Palooza. And he invites CEOs to come in, and we feed them breakfast, and Northern Eagle is one of the sponsors, and we feed them syrup, and he has guest speakers come in, and it's quite an event out there now. There's anywhere from about 200 to 300 people show up. It's 4 times a year, and we're getting ready to do one of those in Nashville, Tennessee in October. And then this bottle over here, we like to give back to the community. So we teamed up with a girl out of Fairbanks called Alaska Lizzie. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she was on the Gordon Ramsay cooking show and had worked all the way up to number 9 out of 100. And she has put together a kitchen for underprivileged kids in Fairbanks, and we did a special bottle for her, and proceeds from that bottle goes to her. And we've donated to like Freedom House and some other nonprofits in the area. And then now our next step, we're really looking at expanding more, and through just a fluke meeting a guy in the maple syrup industry, which we found we had so much in common. Come to find out, he had the largest packaging company of syrup in the Midwest. And after talking with him a while, he says, how can we help you expand? And so now we're in talks with him, and he's going to be our co-packer for the lower 48. And we've got 2 brokers that are going to be coming on board with us. And we're looking at a national expansion across the United States. And, you know, the guy keeps telling me, he says, Richard, why are you concentrating on Alaska? You have all this opportunity down here. And I said, you know, you don't understand it. I said, people come from all over the world to Alaska. And I said, they're at these vendor shows, they're at these places, and they're buying Northern Eagle syrup. And then they're going to want to know where they can get it. And I said, then when they go back to their communities where they're at, we're going to have it there for them. And so, guys, if you see our maple syrup out on the shelf, I'd sure appreciate you trying it. And we've got more products coming, so that's where we're at. Thank you.